Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. Today we're going to objectively break down the really tragic murder of 17-year-old Surya Chauhan and the deeply polarized societal debate that blew up right after it happened. We're going to look closely at the established facts of the police investigation, the exact sequence of events, and how this highly localized tragedy rapidly became a massive flashpoint for a national conversation. Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll cover the backread incident itself, then the dispute that triggered the murder, followed by the police action and encounter. After that, we'll look at a helpless mother's demand for justice, and finally, the TV debate. Was this communal or personal? Let's jump right in. Section 1. The backread incident. How a festive day turned into an absolute tragedy. So let's set the scene. May 28, 2026, a 17-year-old kid named Surya Chauhan is violently attacked and killed right near his home in the Lokpriya Vihar area of Khoda. Now here's the part that really shook people. The prime suspect, a guy named Asad, wasn't a stranger. Not at all. These two actually knew each other very well. They used to be neighbors, and according to locals, they were once good friends. And because this incredible violence exploded on a day meant for festive observation, it literally sent shockwaves straight through the local community. To really grasp the sheer gravity of this event, you have to hear from Surya's mother. Her grief is really the emotional anchor of this entire story. Speaking through tears, she expressed this agonizing desire for ultimate retribution. She said that only seeing the killer dead would, in her words, cool her heart. It's incredibly raw, and you can see why. Her raw emotion quickly became a rallying cry for the community, setting the tone for the massive public pressure that followed. Moving to Section 2, the dispute behind the murder. We're going to track exactly how this escalated. It's like watching a fuse burn. According to police reports, this tension was actually 8 months in the making. The two boys had a falling out way back then, which had even required community intervention to settle. But fast forward to the afternoon of May 28th. At around 3 p.m., a fresh argument breaks out over riding a motorcycle, just a bike. And within 30 minutes, by 3:30 p.m., that minor dispute explodes into a fatal stabbing. Then, just a few days later, in the early hours of May 31st, the timeline wraps up completely with a fatal police encounter. The reported details of the attack itself are just chilling. Sources indicate Asad basically lured Surya to the Navneet Vihar area under some pretext. When Surya showed up, eyewitnesses claim he was completely surrounded by Asad and several others. According to a friend of the victim, before the stabbing even happened, the attackers allegedly taunted Surya. They asked him if he'd ever seen a goat slaughtered and told him they were going to show him how it's done. And it gets worse. Locals allege that right after the murder, bags of meat were deliberately tossed outside Surya's family home. You can imagine how an act like that deeply provoked the neighborhood and just threw gasoline on the ensuing protests. Which brings us to Section 3, Police Action and Encounter. The swift retribution. The police moved fast on this one. They quickly swept up 3 individuals, Farhan, Atiq, and this is crucial, Nawab, who was the father of the main accused, Asad. Now, the police revealed a highly disturbing detail here. They alleged Nawab actually instigated the whole murder. Following that 3 p.m. bike dispute, he reportedly told his son to finish his story today. On top of that, Farhan confessed to supplying the knife used in the brutal attack. But even with these 3 locked up, the authorities noted there were other suspects still out there on the run. So, a massive manhunt kicks into high gear. They put a 50,000 rupee bounty right on Asad's head to speed up his capture. We're talking multiple police teams deployed, tracking his movements all across the region. And that manhunt? It ended violently. Police got intelligence that Asad was trying to scrape together some cash and flee the area, so they set up barricades. Around 4 a.m. on May 31st, officers spotted him on a motorcycle with an accomplice. When police intercepted them, they say Asad opened fire. The officers shot back in retaliation, critically wounding Asad, who was later declared dead at the hospital. An officer, a police constable, actually took a bullet and sustained injuries during that exchange too. Section 4. A helpless mother's demand and her search for ultimate justice. Now, Surya's mother, Saroj, was relieved that the main killer was dead. She openly thanked the police, the chief minister, and the administration. But she wasn't done. She tearfully demanded that all the remaining accused face total financial and material ruin. Her logic was straightforward. 7 people held and attacked her son, so she firmly demanded that bulldozers should be used to demolish every single one of their houses. She wanted their property confiscated so they'd face the exact same level of devastation that she was feeling. To really understand this, you have to look at the immense socioeconomic void left in this fatherless household. Surya's dad had already passed away, and his older brother has a mental disability. So Surya, at just 17 years old, was basically viewed as the only reliable future support for his aging mother. That extreme vulnerability is exactly what drove the neighborhood's intense demands for extreme, rapid justice, with locals staging sit-ins and literally demanding blood for blood. The political response was just as forceful. Uttar Pradesh Deputy Chief Minister Keshav Prasad Maurya publicly vowed to push for the death penalty, stating that this act showed a mind completely filled with poison. And finally, Section 5. The TV debate. Was this communal, or was it purely personal? When this hit national television, two completely opposed narratives emerged, and we're going to impartially look at both sides here. On one side, you had Hindu leader Mitra Chaturvedi framing the murder as a premeditated, communal act of violence, specifically a jihadi attack against a Hindu youth. But on the flip side, political expert Dr. Abhishek Alawat argued that, yes, while the crime was undeniably horrific, it was fundamentally the result of a prolonged personal enmity between two kids, and it shouldn't be painted with a broad communal brush. Chaturvedi made a really passionate case on television, arguing that this incident is absolute proof of the dangers of cross-community friendships. He essentially claimed that the concept of brotherhood is often used as a trap. Pointing out the brutal reality that 7 people surrounded one boy, he argued this was clear evidence of a radicalized mindset. He was strongly demanding that the government step in and set a terrifying precedent so that nobody would ever dare commit an act like this against a Hindu youth again. Dr. Alawat, however, strongly cautioned against throwing a communal lens over every single local crime. He pointed straight to the police evidence showing that these two boys had a documented history of exchanging provocative text messages and challenging each other long before that fateful afternoon. His argument was that labeling a tragic dispute between two rowdy teenagers as a religious war actually destabilizes the country. He warned that if we constantly frame personal conflicts as Hindu versus Muslim, we end up diluting the gravity of real, verified cases of communal violence when they actually do happen. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. We just watched a horrific local crime, driven by an afternoon argument over a motorcycle, spiral into a fatal stabbing, a massive police shootout, and a highly polarized national television debate about religion in India. How easily do the undisputed facts of a tragic loss of life become the ultimate battleground for our deepest societal divides? Think about it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep questioning the narrative.